Hello, and welcome to the Wine Educate podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Close. This is episode 42, and I am going to be talking about blind tasting today, the do's and don'ts of blind tasting, why it matters, how to set it up, and I'm also going to talk about some of the pretension that's involved in this, which I don't like, and we're going to try to eliminate that from our blind tastings. So this all feels very appropriate for this week, busy week, right? We're coming to the end of level 3, and today I have the level 3 tasting workshop. This evening I've got the Launchpad level 3 prep Zoom session, and this session we're talking all about the tasting portion. And then tomorrow I have the level 3 exams. Nancy's printed those out. My God, it's a lot of paper. It's a lot of paper. It's almost like half a ream of paper printing those suckers out. I have not looked at it because I don't like to look at it. I don't want the burden of knowing what those essay questions are. But of course, I've looked at the tasting section and picked out the wines. So lots of thinking about wine selections and picking out testable wines, because the workshop, we have 6 whites, 6 reds. And so it sort of brought me to the topic of blind tasting itself and why it is important. We are so easily influenced by knowing what the wine is. If I tell you certain styles of wine, certain types, you immediately know what to expect. It's why no one can keep any Sancerre in at any bar, because everyone is asking for Sancerre. But what they really want is a white wine that's dry and has no oak and has good acidity. It's a style they're looking for, but it's identifiable. When you taste things blind, you take all of your preconceived notions away. You don't know what it is. You don't know where it's from. You don't know how much it costs. And this is a fun one to do tastings like that, because often, why is a wine priced at $50 and not $15? Is it worth that much money? And tasting blind can answer those questions for you. It's, of course, good practice if you are a WSET student, but it's also just very interesting. It helps to sharpen your skills, really make you think, and it's going to challenge your expectations. I'll give you an example of that in just a little bit. Okay, so setting up for a blind tasting, well, you need some other people, right? Ideal group size, between 3 and 10. I wouldn't do more than 10, then it defeats the purpose. A real sweet spot is between 6 and 8 people. That I find is a really lovely number for getting together and tasting. So just a casual one, have everyone bring their own bottle and bring it in their own little bag, whether it's a paper bag or some people have fun bags that they've got on Amazon. They're blind tasting bags. It's important, however, that when you do blind tasting, that you try to keep some variables the same. So you do have some consistency. Here at the shop, we use the same glasses for everything. Other folks in town have their own tasting groups, and they end up bringing their own glasses so they can use the same glasses every time that they taste. And I would say the most important factor in these blind tastings is the attitude in which you approach them. Everyone have seen on YouTube some videos of Psalms doing blind tasting. There's one in particular, it's a woman, and I don't know what competition she is in, and she seems to just nail 3 wines in a row, like very specific information. It's very impressive, but it's not really how it goes. It's not really real life, is it? And even if you have a really good grasp on wines, there's so many little factors that can change and be different that nailing the wine is not the point of the blind tasting. And you need to promote a welcoming, non-pretentious environment. I find people are very intimidated about coming in and doing tasting and about tasting blind. There's been this horrible culture that has developed around this, and I don't want it to be gamified. This is a learning experience, and it needs to be fun. If the older I get, my mantra is if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. All right. And I don't want to be in a wine tasting with folks that are going to be wine-splaining. Okay. So I came up with this term, wine-splaining. And essentially, it is someone who is kind of making the environment more pretentious than it needs to be, is talking down to other people when they speak up and their tasting notes, saying things like, you can't possibly taste that, or that's not in this wine, or it could never be that. How could you say that? It makes it aggressive and challenging in an unhealthy way. And when you get wine-splaining involved, people shut down. Okay? Nobody wants to speak up and be told that they're stupid. What? Nobody in any realm, right? At work or at home, no one wants that. So if there is a whiff of that in the room, people are going to clam up. They're not going to talk. And it's not going to be a really beneficial tasting. So try to always promote a welcoming environment. You say what you get out of the wine. Listen politely to what other people get. And if you don't get that, that's fine. You're different people. You may get different things. But the important part is the dialogue, the conversation. And you will get plenty of things that are similar. But if someone says, oh, well, I think the acidity is just medium, you can say, oh, I think it's a bit higher than that. But don't say, you're wrong. How could you say that? It's medium plus. Okay. So there's a healthy way to go about the conversation without the old wine-splaining creeping in. What can you learn? Okay. So again, the point is not in getting the wine right. It's in getting unbiased observations and doing this within a group setting. The weird irony of my life is that I do so much tasting, but very little blind tasting because I'm often the person who's setting up the wines and I already know what everything is. So for me, doing blind tasting is so fun, makes me giddy. We have an in-person membership here in New Orleans in our wine shop, The Independent, called the Indie Wine Society. And we get a chance to meet a couple times a month, but 2 of those meetups are blind tasting. And this is my only chance, usually during the week, the month, to sit down and taste something that I have no idea what it is. It is incredibly humbling, and I always leave those tastings with having learned something new. So you give me an example. Okay. We've noticed in the tastings that wines like Chablis and Sancerre that are usually high in acidity have not been so high in acidity. This has been a common thing. We just have had a couple bottles show up in the tastings, and we're all scratching our heads. These wines that classically are supposed to be high in acidity, they've been just dinged a bit. And, well, that's because the climate is getting a bit warmer, right? The fruit is getting a bit riper, and the acidity is a bit lower. So that's just one of the many observations. We've all tried wines and had been real head scratchers. We didn't know what they were, and we'd all thrown in some guesses, and none of us were right. So it's all just good fun. It's good fun, and you will learn something new every time. I would encourage you to not shy away from these experiences. And if you have a tasting group, you can do it in your tasting group. Just know that if you are in one of these tasting situations and you feel uncomfortable, you feel like you can't speak up, note that it may be a bit of wine-splaining that is going on, and try to be the one in the room to diffuse it, okay? Because often I find this behavior comes from people just being nervous themselves. So we, just diffuse it and say, oh, well, I appreciate that, but this is what I get, and carry on. We all want to learn and have a fun experience. All right. I am going to be talking about setting up tasting groups and different ways to do it and different tasting exercises in the next couple of episodes. So if you don't want to miss that, please do subscribe so my podcast will pop up to your feed and you won't miss out on these episodes. Hope you all have a lovely week and get to do some blind tasting.